If it's ABC, then it must be WBKO-13.
The Kentucky News starts now. From South Central Kentucky's award-winning news station, this is Newscenter 13's Weekend Report.
Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining us. Kentucky lawmakers are preparing to go head-to-head tomorrow over the issue of health care.
Some legislators say they've never headed into a special session after so much talk and so little agreement. Kentucky lawmakers are facing one of the most complex and controversial proposals in this special session on health care reform. The driving force behind Governor Jones' plan is controlling costs and making health care accessible to all Kentuckians. Legislators seem to all agree that reforms are inevitable. They just don't agree on the details of a plan, and many of them would still like to wait for the national plan to be released before taking action.
It's very difficult to pass any comprehensive legislation on the eve of the President's task force revealing what they're going to propose. And I think that has created a serious problem for Governor Jones' proposal.
Both Kofoglis and Representative Jody Richards of Bowling Green say one thing at least will be accomplished this session. That's the funding of the Medicaid program.
The Health Care Finance Administration has ruled our current method of financing as being not permissible, and it's a little bit technical, but we have to change that. If we don't change that, we'll have to scale back our Medicaid program by some $600 million. A lot of people would lose their access to care.
Jones has failed to win much support for the economic heart of his program.
There's very little support for a tax. Very little support for a tax on employers who do not provide health insurance. There's also very little support for mandating coverage on everybody. Everybody's required to have health insurance.
The Jones plan calls for every Kentuckian to have health insurance. Employers who don't provide it would be required to pay a payroll tax of 3.75%. That tax would help subsidize lower-income people. It further calls for insurance reforms, emphasizes preventative care, and contains a proposal to train and keep more family doctors in the state. Jones remains confident lawmakers will pass a bill that meets his goals. If that happens, he'd like to implement it in January of '94, something many legislators say just can't be done.
I expect that we'll fund the Medicaid program. We may do a few other things, but I think we'll be dealing with the problem again in January and probably for several years to come.
Legislators get down to business in the morning. The length of the special session will depend on how quickly the General Assembly can reach an agreement. Their next regularly scheduled session is in January.
The U.S. Senate is expected to vote later this week on the controversial motor voter bill. Kentucky Senator Wendell Ford says he's confident he's finally gathered enough votes to put down a Republican filibuster. Ford has been one of the bill's prime supporters for the past 4 years. Leading the opposition has been Kentucky's other senator, Republican Mitch McConnell. The proposal would allow people to register to vote when they apply for or renew their driver's licenses. It would also allow such registration in other government offices. President Clinton has promised to sign the bill if it reaches his desk. Some U.S. congressional leaders are calling for military retaliation if it's proven that Iraq was, in fact, behind a plot to assassinate former President Bush. Reports of the scheme surfaced following Bush's visit to Kuwait in April. So far, 16 people, including 11 Iraqis, have been arrested on charges of conspiracy to kill the former president. A U.S. investigative team is in Iraq gathering evidence. Several U.S. lawmakers say it appears unlikely the plot was the work of an isolated group of terrorists. Such behavior cannot be tolerated from Iraq.
I think what it primarily would do is remind us once again what kind of a person it is that we're dealing with here, and that we better continue to prevent him from regaining any kind of power or strength.
Iraq denies the charges, saying the U.S. is just trying to justify more aggression.
Well, despite a fragile ceasefire agreement, fighting continues to rage among some factions in Bosnia-Herzegovina. And a battle is brewing on Capitol Hill about possible U.S. military intervention. United Nations spokesmen say the ceasefire appears to be holding among the warring Muslims and Serbs, but Bosnian Croats didn't join in. Bosnian radio reports Croats are using rocket launchers, mortar and sniper fire against Muslim communities. Meantime, some senior U.S. lawmakers say President Clinton doesn't have the backing he needs from Congress for military action. But others say the time for U.S. intervention has come.
Plans that the United States have to go forward. This is not an area where you can bluff. This is not an area where you could say, well, you pull the ceasefire, or you move back, or we're prepared to use air power. Because these are people who call your bluff immediately. They've done it every single time.
A British newspaper quotes diplomatic and military sources as saying Western airstrikes could begin within 10 days. And when we come back, a tragic accident on Interstate 65 near Bowling Green.
Area educators are given a place of honor in order to help their schools, and it's that special day when youngsters everywhere reach out to say thanks. There's more news ahead. Stay right here.
It's time to play the Kentucky Lottery's Pick 3. Hi, I'm Lynn Jefferson. Tonight's winning number is 9. 1, that's 991. Play it your way with a pick, and tonight's winning numbers are number 16, followed by number 36, number 23. Play 3 and match 3 and win $200. Number 6, 51. Number 14, match 6 of 8 and win $200,000 in cash. Number 8. And the final number is 1. That's 16, 36, 23, 6, 51, 14, 8, and 1. Good night and good luck from the Kentucky Lottery.
A 49-year-old Louisiana woman is dead and 2 others injured following an accident on Interstate 65 near Bowling Green. State police say Eloise Watson died in surgery at the medical center this afternoon. Watson was a passenger in a car driven by 53-year-old Robert Watson. Troopers say he apparently fell asleep at the wheel, drove across the median and into oncoming traffic. The Watson's car was hit by a northbound tractor-trailer, ejecting Mrs. Watson from the vehicle. The driver of the truck was apparently not injured. Robert and Crystal Watson, another passenger in the car, were treated and released. Eloise Watson was reportedly not wearing a seatbelt at the time of the accident.
Friends and family of those killed in the nation's worst drunk driving accident are remembering their loved ones as the tragedy's 5th anniversary draws near. 27 people died on May 14, 1988, near Carrollton, Kentucky, when 39-year-old Larry Mahoney crashed into a church bus returning from an Ohio amusement park. Mahoney is serving a 16-year prison sentence.